What if I have bad employees? Juliet posted this question along with several others. What if I have bad employees? And this is tough. And so let's categorize, what does bad employees mean? So bad employees could mean like really bad, like really, like they're really harming the business. And the answer to that question is you need to terminate them immediately. You need to revoke all of their access, and you need to document everything that went wrong and keep a paper record of that, or a digital record of that. But you need to end those relationships immediately. So imagine they're stealing from you, or imagine they're sabotaging your business, or imagine they're exposing you to legal risk, or ruining the team, whatever. But they're causing really severe permanent damage that you need to get rid of them as quickly. And then let's just say that you've got another category of bad, and these are people who are not pulling their weight. And so sometimes we hear this term called quiet quitting. I think was kind of a 2023 trend. And these are people who've just kind of given up, and so they're coasting. But it could also be other kinds of bad behavior, people who just aren't pulling their weight, or maybe they've got some negative aspect to them. Maybe they're just really, they have a bad attitude, and it just drags the team down. It hurts morale. And so this category of bad, I would strongly suggest starting with a write-up process. Meet with them and just say, listen, here's some behavior or actions that you are doing that are not acceptable for this company. I would steer away from expressing opinions or editorializing. I would say be very fact-based. For example, your job requires that you clock in while you're in the office. It has to be no later than 7:30 a.m. And we have seen from records that you are clocking in from your home at 7:30 a.m. and then driving to the office. So that is unacceptable behavior, and it needs to change right away. And we will not warn you again if you continue to do this behavior. So that's an example of being abstract. I'm sorry, being concrete, not abstract. Some abstract behavior or a way to describe something in an abstract way that is not as good is, yeah, I'm calling you into the office because you're really depressing. You're hurting the morale of the team. So this is very difficult for a person to correct, because they're probably not sure how to fix it. And so, I would suggest in this case you say, on our internal discussion board, you made these statements, and these were understood by the other people on the team as being very discouraging, very negative, and it's hurting morale. And so what we're going to do is ask you to not make comments like this. I'd like you to look at the bright side. I'd like you to be positive. If you don't like your job, then look for another one. But I want you to be concrete, because if you say it in a way that it's very clear what the bad behavior is, then they can correct that behavior. And so that's what you want to do, is you want to write them up. And then by doing it, by having very concrete, clear steps on things that they need to change, if they don't, then it's a simple checkbox later on. Okay, remember a week ago when we said, please don't do this and you must do this? Well, you haven't, right? So we are putting this in your file. We are going to terminate you, hand over your keys, whatever. In all of these cases, I'm going to encourage you to document this whole process. All right, there's one more category of bad employees, and this is bad with quotes. And we are talking about average employees. And every company wants to have like these exceptional rock star employees who really just hit home runs. And you know what? You can't have that all of the time. If you can have one, consider yourself lucky. But there's also average employees, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not good, and they just kind of hover back and forth. And so what I'm going to suggest in this case is that these are not behaviors that I would say normally need to be written up and documented, but instead I want you to have a process for setting goals for your team, and that set clear standards and then are achievable. I'm a big fan of doing goal setting on 13-week increments, where you set goals for your company and team. And so your goals might be, okay, we're going to go 13 weeks and we're going to have 0 safety incidents, or something like that. We're going to have 13 weeks, and we're going to, have a sales goal of this. And your job in customer support is going to be this, and your job in billing is going to be this. But we want to see these numbers here. And so setting these goals, because what happens then is, first of all, your team will clearly understand the difference between okay and great. And then second of all, if you see people who are just constantly, just barely squeaking by, then you can do what's called a performance improvement plan. And I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of your own research in this, because I don't want this to go on for a long time. But if you're interested, leave a comment and let me know, and I can create a video just on performance improvement plans. But a performance improvement plan says, okay, here's what we see from your behavior. We set these goals and you're just barely making it, and and we need to get this level up. So you're going to meet with me once a week, and we're going to look and see how you're doing on these goals. And by doing a performance improvement plan, you set a start date and an end date. And if the performance doesn't improve, then you say, okay, we're going to dismiss you. And so that's a little bit less bad behavior, but employees who are just really only okay and just barely getting by, they can be a management chore. And for young businesses and small businesses, that extra management resource that you have to put into keeping track of just okay employees can be quite burdensome, and it can mean that these employees are costing your business opportunities. So that's what I would do. All right. Uh, in all of these cases, we're going to use we're going to use concrete written expectations and disciplinary actions, so that if you ever do have a problem, then you'll know why things happen the way they did. And if you get some kind of a dispute, wage claim or unemployment dispute, then you can say, here's what happened and here's why. I just want to remind you, subscribe so that you get to see our future announcements. Thank you so much. See you again in 2 weeks.